What is up, guys? It's your girl Riva. I'm back again with another video. If you're new here, my name is Riva, and I'm here to give you guys my thoughts, my opinions, and of course my reaction to this video. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Now, I had this video sent to me by one of my A1 Day 1 subscribers, and I had to, of course, react to this video. The clip that was sent to me was actually something that was on Instagram, but I found the actual video, and this one had actually like a better visual and better audio, so I wanted to play this one. And of course, okay, we are celebrating Fathers for the whole month of June. We have like, what, one more day left of June? So I had to bring this video up. I had to talk about it, and I wanted to further this discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this video so that you guys can see what the conversation is about. I know you guys are going to absolutely love it, so let's just get right into it.
So resentment is something that we have to check at the door and make sure we're not parenting with that resentment, with that anger, with that bitterness, with that sense of looking for revenge and looking to square things off because I was hurt and now I will use my child as the vehicle to hurt you back. Until you are right with me, you cannot have access to your child. Parents who are doing things like that are demonstrating that they are prioritizing resentment over healthy parenting relationships. And ultimately, it's a child that suffers. It's always a child that suffers. So that's one of the things that I can definitively say. If you are using resentment as the vehicle that you're parenting through, trauma, the lens that you're seeing the other person through, it will compromise the quality of the interaction, the ability to trust that, to co-create solutions for your child, and to really work together and demonstrate while you're working together what that should look like. What love for your child should look like to your child. I don't believe a child should ever know when parents are having like a serious disagreement. It is just not their business. But as I said, there's some parents who use the child as that vehicle to carry and prolong the trauma, the hurt, and whatever it is. So that's one of the things that we really have to look at as mothers and as fathers. Have we done the healing that we need to do so we can show up as healed and whole, loving, open, and at our highest vibration, highest frequency?
The thing is, right? I love this. I love what she's saying. I love the perspective that she's offering. I love the truth that she's telling, So many people use their hurt, their bitterness, their stress of the breakup or how things ended, and then they go ahead and they just feed their children's mind with negativity, hatred towards that other person because of how they feel, and it has nothing to do with them. It's just literally, it has nothing to do with them. It's not their business. They were not in that relationship. They were a product of the relationship, but they were not in that same exact relationship. And, just for context, I understand the balance and the need for balance in a conversation when you want to say both parents, because there are, both sides of the spectrum who act, a certain way. But majority of the time, we have to be real. A lot of it is the baby mama. Okay, because a lot of the baby mamas act like because they were the one who gave birth to that child solely belongs to them, and they're the ones who use that dangling strategy. They're the ones who try to infiltrate that child's mind. So this is strongly to those women who are in those spaces, and because the relationship maybe didn't work out how you thought it should, or because it didn't work out in a certain manner, you're using your hurt and putting that onto your child and involving them in something that has nothing to do with them. Nothing.
With positive energy to add to that parenting space, because that is ultimately what your child needs. So are you prepared to do what your child needs you to do, or what is comfortable for you, what make you feel good, what square it off for you, what justice and equality look like for you?
Right.
It's just a question of who you're prioritizing, yourself as the parent or your child in that relationship. And I believe it should always be the child. But you can't get there unless, as long as you have resentment. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I think really blocks the ability to work well together as...
I want to say something else. Sorry, I'm going to let this play out. I'm going to let, us get to some of the great points that she has to say. But the problem is just like how she said that a lot of the parents, are selfish and operating out of selfishness and resentment. And the problem is that They are only doing what feels good, because for them to actually sit down and go through their feelings or their emotions of how they feel at that time or how they felt at that time or whatever the case is, it's going to hurt them, right? Nobody said it's going to feel good. Nobody said that, the relationship that you expected to work out for the rest of your life that didn't work out is not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt your feelings. It's not going to make you feel sad. It's not going to make you feel like, man, I really wish that this went like that. You are going to have these emotions. However, those are your emotions. You have to work through that. You personally have to process that. You have to get over these things. We have some people who are carrying burdens from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and still trying to infiltrate their children's minds at this point over something that is over a decade old. You need to go and heal those emotions for yourself. Also for your children's sake, but for your own self, because you are going to be stuck there forever. While everyone else is moving on, while everyone else is living their life, you are going to be stuck in that place of trauma. And unfortunately, it's going to affect you getting into new relationships or having new opportunities as well. Because you're constantly going to be in that bitter space or be operating out of that bitterness. And then you meet somebody new, and they're going to be like, well, obviously you still have feelings for this person, because why do you feel so strongly about this? Why can't you move forward? Why can't we move past this? So I completely agree with that 100-fold. And again, I have to say the baby mamas, because most of the time that's how the story goes. Okay, most of the time it's, you can't see the children because you moved on, or you can't see the kids because, I'm mad at you, or you can't see the kids because you won't sleep with me when I think that you should still, I should still have access to you because I'm your children's mom. Like, we have to be real about these conversations.
Is one parent believing that they are better. So again, the resentment creates a space for judgment. I am good and you are bad. And I have all evidence here that you have done bad things. And so it makes me the better parent, right?
Yeah.
I am there for these things and you are not. I do these things and you do not. Or just kind of listing out the ways that you think your approach to parenting is better than the other parents' approach. And when we talk about co-parenting, remember, we're not just talking about people who have separated. You're co-parenting if you're living in the same house with your husband, with your wife, with the other parent for your child, right? Sure. So you thinking that because when you make breakfast, you provide fruits for your child, and when the other parent makes breakfast, it is egg and bread. And then you wake up in the morning and you're just like, oh, don't you know it's supposed to be fruits? It has to be fruits for breakfast. And how you must be giving them this and them don't have no fruits yet. And so in your sense of self, you believe that you're an elevated person, you're a bigger person, you're a better parent, and you have to school this other person on how to be a good parent and teach them the way, because they don't know nothing and you know everything. So even inside the same household, there can be that chafing and friction and conflict about what is good for the child. And you just believing that because your way probably scientifically is better, it means that you are the better parent. And you give no room to the other person to try something that is not necessarily harmful. It is different. It doesn't make you happy. But is it really hurting the child?
I 100% agree with this. It should not be a competitive space. Right? It's not a sport, right? You're supposed to be working on the same team for the same goal, which is seeing your children do better. But she said the key word, though. That's if you're not doing something that is going to harm them in their future. And harm them, it doesn't mean that you're feeding them poison, but sometimes you are. Whether it's a diet that's free of all of these things that are not going to, deem them health or whatever in the long run, that is a form of poison. But also, if you're doing behaviors that are letting the kids, in a sense, kind of like raise themselves, run themselves, rule themselves, if you are not playing an intricate role and you think that that's okay when the other parent is like, no, these children need guidance or these children need direction. If you're not doing something that's harming the parent, harming the children, that's one thing. But there are different avenues in ways that people are harming the child and are trying to disguise it as their style of parenting. But if we really looked at it under a microscope, it's not their style of parenting, it's their lack of parenting. Or their lack of ability to know how to do it in the right manner. So in this, I do agree, but I also think that a lot of people take like, oh yeah, this is just my parenting style. Yeah, but like, what is going to be the fruit of the things that you're teaching the children right now? Is it going to allow them to bear a harvest of abundance, of happiness, of joy? Or is it going to keep them bound by the same stress that you are in?
Does the other parent not have room to also make some decisions for the child? Are you the only person who knows everything and the way that it should go? Now, I use this example. If you're living under the same roof, like clearly you're in the same house together, there are the cues that we are all open to. Mind you, one parent may be paying better attention than the other parent, but this belief that only you can do it means that you never give another person the chance to learn.
I have to say this too. You know, this also goes to when they're not in the same household. And that same, I always have to say, I have to say the mothers, because most of the time when it doesn't work out, then that child becomes, or those children or whatever, becomes only that mother's child, right? So it becomes a situation of like, only I can say this, only I can say that. You don't have to ask anybody else. Nobody else has to offer any opinions or what they think, because technically you're my child. So I agree with what she's saying here as well.
And none of us are born automatically knowing what it requires to be there fully for our children. I am still learning that. And while I do have to be the advocate for my daughter, and parents have to really, articulate what is good for their children, what boundaries they're setting for their children. If you believe that only you can take care of your child, you're going to end up stressed out and burnt out, miserable all the time, because you don't want nobody else to watch your kid, right? Child can't overnight nowhere unless you are there. The bedtime routine has to happen this particular way, or you will mash up the place. Right? The morning routine, the teeth have to brush before them eat, or the teeth have to brush after them eat, are a problem, and they just don't know what you're doing. If that is the approach that you're going to take, where only your way works, it will continue to create friction. I say all of this not from a place of me being perfect, but me learning by doing what works and what doesn't, what creates ease and what creates friction and a barrier, and wanting always to remove anything that is erecting some kind of barrier or fence to block the access and the love that my child ought rightly to have.
And I think, just to add on to her point as well, I think that if there's two people who are having a co-parenting relationship, this is just my humble opinion, okay? If there's two people who are having a co-parenting relationship, and one parent is, I can't say, I don't want to say the better parent, but we have to be real. Like, if one parent is better suited when it comes to handling the maneuvers or the problems or the issues that arise, I think that other parent should calmly and coolly respect their space and know who they are. But I think that this also comes from a space of, do you know who you are fully? Do you know what your strong points are? Do you know what your weaker points are? And I think a lot of people have a stronger ego, you know, to just be like, oh, well, I'm perfect at everything. And it's like, okay, but there are some strong points, there are some other points that you have. And it doesn't mean that you're a horrible person. In fact, I think it makes you a good person if you were saying, these aren't my strong points and these are your strong points. And because I'm thinking of the future of the children, and because I'm thinking of what's going to be best for them, I want you to take the lead, and I want you to be the decision maker in all of these certain aspects. And I am not going to infiltrate, or I'm not going to try to step on your toes or combat your parenting, because I know for a fact that you are looking at our children's best interest, and maybe I'm not able to at the time.
With her father, right? So I also have to check myself. I don't say this from a position of being perfect and having it all figured out, but having tried several approaches, I see what works and what creates good synergy and rhythm and respect between both parents. So this idea that only you can do it, or when you do it the best, or you are the better to make that decision, that is really ego driving behavior and perspective. You believing that something about you makes you better, and it's really not true. It's not true. If, and I put this as a caveat as well, I have to keep saying, because I don't know at what point you are joining the live, if you have two parents who are really committed to learning and doing the best that they can, we have to give each other room to learn, right? Some will learn faster than some, but there has to be room for both of us to learn and to demonstrate what we are learning and to course correct, because we're all going to make mistakes along the way. So try to avoid judgy statements about how your partner is parenting, whether you are living in the same house or living in separate homes, and just see it for what it is. If it is their best effort, if it is harmful to the child, and you make an assessment around when you need to intervene and when you need to draw a line and a boundary.
Exactly. When it's harmful and when you need to draw a line and snatch up everybody and be like, I got this. You know what I mean? And again, what is harmful? Harmful is teaching kids, behaviors that are not going to suit them as adults. Harmful is, like she said, her first point, coming, using your emotions and putting them onto the child. And now they're looking at this other parent through your gaze, through your hurt, through your pain, instead of looking at them as their, other parent. That's harmful because you're distorting a connection that's extremely important for their growth and for who they're going to be in the future. So that's harm. Or also harm is also not doing anything at all. Because I don't believe that. I'm again, my opinion. I don't believe that kids are able to just do whatever they feel or whatever they deem necessary without any direction. Because I think another thing is that it's hard when two parents have two very different parenting styles. There's some parents that both of the parents feel like, oh, these are just other human beings. And like, we're just here to just, make sure they don't hurt themselves, but kind of just watch them from afar. And then you have parents that are like, no, I'm going to protect my kids. I'm going to guide my kids. I'm going to structure, who they are and how they're going to be as human beings. I'm going to teach them principles, this, that, discipline. And the other parents are like, well, you can do that, but I'm not doing that. I want to just be able to do this. And so that also causes a big friction between parents. But, just to go off of what she's saying, what is harm? Different kids are different. Every kid is different. Some kids don't need a whole bunch of, structure or whatever. They will just sit down and they will have straight A's. But you have to know who your kids are. If your kids need that extra attention, it's going to be harmful if they don't have that. So that is going to be a place that somebody's going to have to draw the line.
And that leads me to the third approach for me. After we release the resentment and we choose to act from a place of respect, openness, and trust, and then we're able to get to a space where we are both trusting each other to be acting in the best interest of our child, not wanting to do anything to hurt or harm or dishonor our child in any way, and knowing that each of us has a different approach, each of us will do things differently, and we're going to respect the difference there because there is no best and worst, and there is no judgment of good or bad. We just want to do our best and see how doing the best can be the best.
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes there's good and bad. I'm not gonna lie. I understand the greater point that she's making, but I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes there is a good and bad way. I can't lie. You guys could tell me if I'm wrong or however you feel, but sometimes there is a good and bad way. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like how we talk about like some of these, parents that walk around with their kids in, a crop top and booty shorts. Like, sometimes there's a good and bad way of doing certain things.
For a child, and where it was not good enough, we'll come back again and we'll try one more time, right? So once we've gotten to that place, then we can co-create solutions and even boundaries for our child. Now, this is where the real work comes in, like agreeing what is a yes and what is a no.
Right.
When it comes to our child. What is a no-fly zone and what is a green light area for our child. But you can't get to the place where you are both co-creating solutions if there is resentment, lack of trust, disrespect, anger, bitterness. If you think that your way is the way or the highway, then there is no room to co-create because you don't tell yourself that you right and you have all of the answers them already, and you just like an email, an update, or WhatsApp, a status report, right? And tell them what is on and what is not on. Remember always that you're dealing with another adult, right? You're dealing with another adult. And if we can start from a place of respect, it starts to open a series of doors, portals, where we can really work together. Again,
I want to say, right? It's so important to have that communication between two parties. Okay? It is extremely important. And I know, okay? I know sometimes it can be extremely difficult. I know it can be hard because most of the time, like when you have an ex and it's over, you don't have to talk to them again. Right? You don't have to think about them, talk to them. You don't have to, deal with anything that in regards to that person. However, when you have children, that is not the case, especially when you're trying to raise them, as best as possible. It can be hard, but that communication is extremely necessary. The problem is when she said something key. She said that, it's two adults dealing with a situation, but it doesn't mean that just because they're two adults that both of them are at the same maturity level. Let's be clear. It does not mean that. And so where the problems can arise is that, say for instance, like she said, if you guys were in the same household and one parent was, the main decision maker, one parent was the one who provided the structure, one parent was the one who provided that balance. When you guys separate, not because of how you feel, you still have to remember who was the parent who was providing those things strongly. Who was the parent that was, making certain decisions or whatever the case is. And so not because now you guys are separated, you feel like your voice has extremely, has to be heard the most, just as equally as that other person, because when you guys were one unit, was that the way that it went? No. And so I think it's important that if you're growing, your children in a certain manner, if you're raising them in a certain way, that you keep that same amount of structure and discipline. The same way how it was when they were little, you have to keep that same thing. That the person was the ultimate yes or the ultimate no, that person should still be the ultimate yes or ultimate no, because if not, you're going to be changing the entire dynamics of that person's entire life. So you can't get mad and talking about, well, that this person says this, but you're going to do the opposite now because of how you feel. Or, I'm not talking to this person because of how I feel, but is not talking to this person going to assist the growth or help at all? No, it's not. It's just going to cause more dysfunction and more problems in a state that there should be peace. Because ultimately, if the two of you are not together anymore, what ultimately could you be arguing or fighting about? Because your emotions should already not be in the equation. Your emotions should already be taking the back seat, because you're no longer emotionally involved with this person. The whole point of this structure is for the betterment of your children and for the balance for their sake. So I completely agree with these points that have been made today. And again, I have to say to mothers, I have to direct this conversation to mothers, mainly because the majority of situations when there is a breakup or there is, a dissolve of relationships, it is going to be that the mother is the one that's dangling all of these things. And, the fathers that do that, I would say, is very far few and in between. You know what I'm saying? I love the way that she's having this conversation, because she seems like she's coming from a place of realization. Okay, she sound just the way that she comes across and the way that she talks. She seems like she's the disciplined person, right? So in her co-parenting journey, it seems like she's the one that has to realize, okay, let me take a step back. Okay, I don't have to have my hand on everything. Okay, I only want my child to eat, organic this and that, and she's over there eating fried chicken with y'all. It seems like she is actually coming from the place of realization, like, okay, I don't always have to have the final say. I need to allow that other parent to be free to be the other parent. So she's actually coming from a place that we don't normally see women even coming from. Just to be clear, getting to this space, getting to that realization, because a lot of them just, feel like, well, it's my child, it's my kids, leave me and my kids alone. They come from that mindset. So again, as hard as it may be, we have to understand that it is for the betterment of the child, and the child is supposed to come first. Okay, so let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section down below. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this video. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And of course, I will see you guys in the next video. Love you.